Want to turn now to an update on the Colonial Pipeline cyber attack, and going to bring in Francesca with much more on why the CEO paid millions of dollars to the hackers. We've learned a little bit more information on this.
We have. It's a big debate. Many people wondering why that ransom was paid. $4.4 million, Sheba. And according to the Wall Street Journal, the CEO of the Alpharetta-based company says he approved the ransom because they did not know how bad this breach was or how long it would take for the operations to resume. Now, on Saturday, May 8th, the company said they responded to the attack by taking some systems offline in an effort to contain this threat. That's what temporarily caused operations to stop in the first place, leading to a gas shortage all around Georgia and along the East Coast. An investigation was launched and law enforcement got involved. The report also says CEO Joseph Blount felt that paying the multi-million-dollar ransom was an option they just had to take. Now, Colonial Pipeline eventually restarted operations 6 days after the hack on May 12th, and we've all experienced gas shortages as a result of all of this, but things are slowly but surely returning to the pumps. In fact, less than 12 hours ago, 33% of Georgia's gas stations were still without gas. Experts estimate it could take several more days and maybe into Memorial Day weekend before things really get back to normal. Chesley, gonna toss this one over to you. You got gas?
Half a tank right now. So I'm
might
looking.
want to fill up.
I'm looking. You pick me up for a ride?
Okay, I'm not picking you up.
All right then.